Well, this podcast is brought to you by Waffles.
And we should stop waffling.
Okay, we should totally
stuff.
stop waffling.
I don't think the guys are interested in this conversation.
Sorry guys. Sorry. But I'll put the waffle.
What are we talking about?
I'll put the link to my recipe in the show notes. Yes, we're talking about teenagers, and teenagers do like waffles.
Yes, what a good segue. Hey man, everyone likes waffles. It's just when you're a teenager, you don't think of the consequences of waffles. And then when you hit a certain age where you understand what food does to your body, then you start like going, should I have this waffle? But guys, if you feel like a waffle, just have a waffle.
Have a good one.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, see, and this is the interesting thing. People think that when you start eating healthy, like all these old favorites go out the window and you have salad and lentils and I don't know. But in our family, we've always found ways to have those fun, traditional foods that our family's always loved, but you just find healthier versions. And that's one of the biggest secrets of helping your kids not to hate healthy food, because you make it fun and you still let them have their favorites, but tweaked to make them healthier. So I think that is a very important point in this conversation about teenagers eating well, don't you?
Yes. Here's what you do.
Okay.
You get a score for how healthy you think the food is. And then you get a score for how stressed you are about this food. And if it's super healthy, but it's sort of stressing you out that you have to eat that way, it's not a good food.
Yeah.
If it's
what about if your kids are stressed out though?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think I guess what I'm trying
about
to say
tough love.
you gotta weigh out the stress that you have around food.
True.
When it comes to it could be slightly less healthy. Like, someone like me, sugar doesn't do me well at all. It really doesn't. Like I get, man, like I'll wake up the next day with joint pain.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but honey, for instance, does a far better job. Like I don't get the same thing from honey, but if I have white sugar is the worst. Like it's totally the worst.
Yeah.
White sugar with any kind of refined flour is the worst.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, like I get honey and almond meal, for instance. That's a better alternative for me.
Yeah.
Than having it with like a refined flour. Even I find something like rice cracker, those rice cakes. Like these ones I do really well on compared to rice flour. Because it doesn't digest in the same way. Like when it's been pre-milled, and then cooked, it's kind of like the molecules are easier to digest, so they get into your bloodstream quicker, and your body just gets overwhelmed by them.
Right.
I don't know. I'm waffling on now, but I guess what I'm trying to say is there's definitely like different versions of the food that you can have. That you can substitute and make yourself less stressed. But every once in a while, if you're in a situation where you want to have that dessert or whatever it is, and the stress of not having it, like for instance, it's a family gathering, and if not having it means that you needed to have prepared like a full-on gluten-free cake made with, I don't know, bee pollen and distilled air or something.
Distilled air.
Then definitely have the cake. Don't worry too much.
If you're not
that's what I think.
Yeah.
Yes, and then just recover from it over the next couple of days.
But don't do it constantly.
No, you can't. You can't overwhelm the body. And the older I get, the longer it takes me to bounce back.
Same.
What's going on, Joe?
I think we're getting.
I thought
old.
other people were going to age. I didn't think it was going to happen to me.
I know. It's so depressing.
Really? I love it.
Oh, good.
Yes.
Oh, well, getting serious now about this teenager food thing.
Yes.
I'm interested to know, what are your goals with your kids' health? Like,
Oh
What do
gosh, I
you
didn't
want
think I was
them?
going to be interviewed on
No,
this.
you
Okay,
can ask
yeah.
me the same question, but
Okay,
it's
okay.
just like we need to, I think parents need to think, okay, so what are my goals with my kids' health? I can't just
All right, I'll be totally
flip-flop
honest
all
with
over
you
the
on
place.
this. Yeah,
Yeah.
because like I can give you sort of like an answer that is sort of,
Okay.
philosophical. I can give you really like what I really feel. I'll tell you what. Sarah, the eldest, has zero health problems. She's just completely able to eat any food. Her body works like a well-oiled machine. It's amazing. She's just fully healthy.
Yeah.
And Sophie has had problems since birth with her health, lots of food allergies, and she's getting stronger and more resilient as time goes by. My goals for her is that she is able to eat a less restrictive diet as she grows older.
Yeah.
So that's one of my goals. And in that, I want her to be able to eat eggs and say butter, and maybe not butter and cream. I'm not worried about milk, for instance. But if she can have butter and eggs,
makes a difference.
It makes a big difference. Gluten, I don't care about. I don't care about them ever needing to eat gluten. Sarah eats it every once in a while at a party. I see the effect it has on her straight away in that she starts overeating. So whenever she eats anything, she also gets obsessive when there's gluten and she starts eating it. She's like, I want to try everything, and I'm not sure whether it's the gluten or the deprivation from this kind of food that sort of makes her do it. But it kind of does have an impact on her psychology, which I hope that, as she grows up, she can, for her, if she decides to eat gluten-based foods, that she chooses like things like sourdough, or things that are biodynamic, wheat that's not been sprayed with pesticides and herbicides, and doesn't end up at Macca's. Just I don't want that for her. So I want her to understand, both of them, to understand the impact that food has on the environment, that food has on their body. But I also want them to have a healthy relationship with it. I don't want them to feel like food's the enemy and they need to be stressing out about it. And how I hope to achieve that is by instilling natural habits for them. So habits that become natural over time, that they, having grown up in the environment that they grow up, they naturally gravitate to the good stuff.
Yeah.
That's my goal for them. Like, I don't want to be preachy and educational.
No, that's perfect. That's exactly right. Like, you want them to be able to have a wide variety of foods, and you want them to have a healthy relationship with food, so that they're not growing up thinking food is the enemy, or some foods are evil, or something like that. You want them to have when you look at traditional societies, like I've been working a lot with the younger people from Elko Island recently, and they grew up, at least a couple of generations ago, they grew up with the idea that food is from nature and it is beautiful and all of it is good, which was great when they were eating a traditional diet because everything was good. I mean, there was things that they had to prepare a certain way so that they didn't, like the cycad nuts, and they have to soak them and things like that. But once they knew how to prepare them, they could eat it. So there was food and there was things that were not food, but there wasn't good food and bad food. It was either food or not food.
Either worked or it didn't.
Yeah, that's it. That was great until the Western food came in, and then they thought it was still the case that all food is good. And so suddenly, why is food making us sick?
Yeah, it displaced the white sugar and the white flour and the basically the preserved foods, the dead foods replaced or displaced their natural food, which was harmonious to their environment.
That's right. And I guess I really want to teach my children that traditional foods are all good. The actual foods, there's not something wrong with them. It's what we've done to them, or we've brought in things that are not actually food. So helping them to understand what is food and what is a natural food.
Yeah, and even that for people like you and me, it's like I'm still exploring what
Yeah,
food is.
definitely.
Like I still haven't come to a real answer to it.
Yeah.
Like
Always learning.
Yeah, as time's gone by, for me, I've come to really appreciate the vital force in food. So understanding, like fresh coconut milk versus canned coconut milk. Well, why is this one better than that one? Why?
Yes.
If it comes down to calories and vitamins and all that kind of stuff, why is the fresh stuff better? And this is the cycle of the life force. Like we living things should be eating living things.
That's right.
And we don't see us munching on a rock or or any animal doing that. Like that's the life cycle is with the bacteria and the plants and the fungi and all that. As it goes up the food chain, the herbivores are eating the herbs, and the omnivores and the carnivores are eating the things that are, I wouldn't say below them in the food chain, but adjacent to them in the food chain. And this is the cycle, but this vital force is so important to consider as well. And so now, like, I had like a coconut green curry with coconut, and I had this canned coconut, and part of me is thinking like I really wonder, is this stuff good for me or not? Like, I know people say, coconut is such a great food. It's got all these really fantastic fatty acids in them and good for your brain, medium chain triglycerides, activate the brain. Yes, but like, I don't know, like, what the preservation process has done to it, the pasteurization, what's that done to it? And that's why, like, that's one of the things I want to teach them, is the vital aspect of the food.
But also the balance of, you do the best you can, and then there comes a time, some days and some instances, where you just have to take the next best, because sometimes you do have to have the tinned coconut milk or whatever.
Look, we're settling for next best all the time anyway.
Right. Yeah, because like, we don't have perfect food, do we?
Yeah, like the best food is wild, unadulterated food. Like that's the best water is that. We just, by default, our society has already compromised on the quality of nutrition that we get.
Yeah.
And from that also the loss of the biodiversity of our food.
True.
We're just eating the same foods over and over again.
Yeah.
And that's because, that's right. Because we've just bred the foods that go into the supermarket.
Yeah, that's right. But I guess what I'm trying to say is finding the balance between getting the best food you can and not stressing out too much, like you were saying earlier.
But that's the thing. You have to accept that this is where where we're at, as a culture. And if you can make better choices, if you know a farmer who's growing things better, if you start creating these relationships and you start going, making the better selections when you can,
as you find them. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and taking joy in that, as well. And
that's very exciting when you do find someone that sells amazing free range chicken or whatever. It's like
like you get this kind of 2-liter thing of Jersey cream, right? Like,
I'm having some right now in my cuppa.
Come on, man! Like, this is one. Like, that's a joy. Compare that to what's called pura cream that we get here, from Woolworths, and like the difference, it's a big difference.
It is. One of the main things that I really am trying to teach my kids is to take responsibility for their own health, so that as they get older, they're making the choice, like, especially by the time they're my kids' age, but even once they're teenagers, they're starting to learn to make those choices for themselves.
Yeah.
And I know that's something you grow into, and like Damien said in the last podcast, you can teach them all that, then they go away and leave home and they falter for a little bit, and that's usual, and then they come into it again, usually, if you've taught them well. Because they do know, because you've taught them what is good, and they may sort of get a bit off track for a bit with the food, but they can tell the difference in their health. They'll see it, and they know what to do to get back on track, that's one of my main things that I really want my kids to know before they leave home.
Yeah, but you know what? Like, I have a concern with, say, Isaac and Simi. Separate to what I would have with the children who have had less problems than they have.
Oh, yeah,
because
true. They have to be super careful.
Yeah, they really do. Like, they've got to be more careful. And, and faltering for some people is okay.
Yeah.
Faltering for them without mom around
is major.
It is major for them.
I know. And they've already found that. And thankfully, within a bit of the boundary of being still at home or kind of at home. Simi's across the road. Yeah. It's really already hit home to them that they're going to have to be careful all their lives.
Yeah.
Which is hard for young guys. They're just like, I want to be like everyone else, but they just have to eat so carefully.
Yeah, that's the thing. And a lot of us find out this exact same knowledge really late in life.
Yeah. And at least
I was 31 when I found that out.
Yeah.
I'd already gone through serious sickness when I found that out.
Yeah. And so at least, even though it's a bit rough at the moment with, like, Simi's been unwell and he's had to be so careful lately. And, him and all his cousins and friends go down to Cairns for the day on a Saturday or something, and they all go out and eat. And I said to my daughter, what did Simi eat? And she said, well, he didn't eat. He had something at lunchtime, but then in the evening they all had hamburgers, so he just didn't eat. And I was like, oh. But he knows he can't do it.
Great. That's great that he had that discipline.
Yeah.
Because eating a burger in his condition, like, he's just not
going to set him back.
He can't handle it. Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas other kids may be able to handle it a bit more now and then.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So when you still have young teenagers and they're at home, I think what my aim was then was really teaching them to learn to listen to their bodies, to know, like, to sort of reiterate it. To sort of talk it through with them when you see that they've reacted. Like, for instance, once Cassia went to a party and this is when she had to be more strict with her food. It was before we did GAPS, and so she could eat less. And she went to this party and she ate lollies, milkshakes, ice creams, hot dogs. She just went wild. And I wasn't there.
Yeah.
And the next door neighbour, it was her party. She came to me later and said, I'm really sorry, Cassia vomited all over the floor. I didn't remember that she couldn't eat all this stuff and I just let her eat whatever. And I'm like, it's okay. God. I said it's a good experience for her because it helps her to realise that she just can't do that.
But I'm sorry that she vomited all over.
Yeah, but I'm sorry she vomited on your floor. But I was always glad that it happened because it was like, okay, see, Cass, you can see now what happens.
Yes.
Sorry, neighbour.
I know. Sorry, police. That's not child abuse. It's trying to teach them a hard lesson. Yeah.
But
like, we have
we learn the hard way
saying, sometimes. Yeah, like we said, the ignorant only learns from their own experience. Like, that's the Lebanese saying. Like, sometimes you can say something a million times, and until she goes and
does that.
She goes, oh, that's what mom meant by
now I know.
Don't eat rubbish because my body's gonna explode. Okay. Yeah. So that's a good goal. I want to try that too with the girl.
I remember Cindy O'Meara saying the same things. We did a podcast around Christmas, and she was talking about when her kids were young. She said the same thing. She just let them. She was just like, okay, do what you like. They'd go to when they went to a party, and they'd come home going, "Oh, I don't want to do that again."
Yes.
So. Yeah. That was when they were young, and they learnt.
It's just the way of the culture, Like, it's not something we can be up. We can't really change the entire culture, and they're gonna come up against this and so many other things.
Yeah.
Apart from food, which are all questionable when it comes to how we live our lives these days. And it's gonna be one of many challenges from technology and privacy that they're gonna have in their life to their social groups and how they eat and all that. It's a challenge. I really like the fact that you guys are living in the tablelands. You don't have as many challenges as people living in the cities.
We don't walk down the street and see Maccas in town or anything.
No.
Not in our town.
No, that's right. And also you have really strong communities up there.
Yeah.
Which is really helpful.
Actually, my sister was here today and we were talking about Simi going with the cousins to Cairns and everything. And I said, oh, I'm so glad he didn't eat that. And my sister said, yeah, the kids are really good. They all try to look after him and actually will say to him, Simi, don't eat that, because they know that he reacts.
Yeah.
So it's good. It's good.
Yeah, wonderful. That's wonderful. Yeah. It deserves to be looked after.
Yeah.
What other questions? We've had some questions from the
We have had a few, but I just wanted to mention that's right. I was going to talk about helping your teens to understand how food affects them. So we did mention a little bit about that, but also there's the
let them gorge on it until they
no, I mean
that's the Alan Carr method for quitting smoking.
Oh, is it? Just like have
he says get as many packs, like a whole packet of cigarettes, or he says you just smoke until like you
I couldn't bear that. That's disgusting. I can't even stand the smell of it.
But it works for a lot of people.
There you go. Well, also helping each child to understand what affects them and what brings them down and what helps them to come out of it if they have gone and eaten a bunch of stuff they shouldn't have, how to get that out of their system and how to recover. How to recover, because there is going to be times, even as adults, when we sort of get a bit silly with our food and or drink for some, and I've seen that question a lot in the chat group.
What do you mean, John?
Yeah, not me, but but I've seen that question, especially around holiday times. I feel so dreadful. What can I do to feel better? So the different things that you can do to detox, to get it out of your system. So like Epsom salt baths and getting out in the sunshine and exercise and
But you know what sucks about this whole thing?
What's that?
It's not just your body that gets affected, it's also your mind. And so like during the holidays when emotions are high and you're like in a physically altered state, and your mind's not working properly anymore, you're emotionally really like on the back foot. Like you just you can spiral very easily. You can get triggered very easily, and it just becomes hard when you've eaten poorly to get your willpower together to stop. So
that's true.
You find yourself spiraling as well. So to be able to get yourself not only recover but also stop that cycle.
Well, especially with the sugar, like you're saying, the sugar and refined flours and stuff, and it can really affect your mood and make you feel really down. Yeah. And then you binge eat to feel better, and you get that little burst. Yeah, it's very common.
Yeah, I get I had a friend goes, when I get stressed out, I just can't eat anything. I'm like, I wish.
Yeah, I'm the same. I don't eat when I'm stressed.
Yeah, that's why you're skinny, and like that's why I
not as skinny these days. I think
you're skinny. I think you're fine. But so like I would like when I went to see Dad at the hospital, this visit before, I remember I ate so much chocolate.
Really?
I was in the hospital all day and next to Dad, and all these people brought chocolates and stuff like that. And I just ate so much chocolate, and it took me a long time to be able to quit that sugar. And he's the guy who wrote a book about eating healthy.
Yeah, I know, but it's when it does really make a difference when you're emotionally up and down. It's
totally. It's been like difficult year for me, and now it's been months. I'm trying to get myself back on track, and it's only now that I feel like I'm back on track. Yeah. And it took so long.
Yeah.
But you know, like I always knew what to aim for. Like I always knew I had a way back. You know, that was the silver lining. Like if this had happened without me knowing what to do, I would probably have. Yeah, it would have
you'd be
been
so
terrible.
sick by now.
Yeah, totally, and continuing.
And that's what I'm saying about our kids. If we're teaching them young, even if they do have a downward time for a little bit, they do know what to do to come out of it. And I think that's the main thing. I guess giving them the help that they need while they're young, and then you slowly have to just let go. That's just life with kids. You got to let go. You can't make them eat well as they get older. But you have only in your house, you have the food that you want them to eat, and you're modeling the right kind of, you know, food for them, and diet and healthy lifestyle, and that makes a giant difference. I was actually chatting to Elise about this today or yesterday, because we were talking about how a lot of parents get really worried about their kids eating well, but they're sort of up and down all the time themselves, and the kids are really just copying them. And so it comes back to us as parents. What are we doing? What are we modeling for them? Are we always stressing out over food, or are we treating it as just a great part of life that's not, you know, something to get all stressed about, but we want to eat well as much as possible? And, you know, I think that's really important.
We're going to give our kids some kind of scars around food. There's no doubt, you know. Something's going to happen. No, we're not going to be able to give them the best upbringing. Like, I've come to accept that, you know, like that with this kind of, like, you know, having come from sickness and, you know, trying to get better.
Yeah.
I'll have some attitudes towards food that had I been healthy all my life, I wouldn't have.
That's true.
You know, and they're part of me.
Yeah.
And, you know, I don't want to like shield my children from all that, because it's who I am. But at the same time, I try to talk to them about it. Say, look, this is me. That's not my relationship. It doesn't need to be yours.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what. So, like, especially with Sarah, because she doesn't have my problems, she's encouraged to be free with how she does it. But like, I sometimes stress about food. I sometimes go, oh, I can't eat that rice because, you know, I have to be low carbing.
I don't worry. I know exactly what you mean.
Why can't you eat the rice?
Oh.
It's like, you can have the rice. It's just me. Yeah,
I understand what you're saying. Yeah. But I guess it's the same as anything in parenting. It's talking them through things and being honest and open, but helping them to see that you don't always have it together as well, but you're working on it.
Yes, far from it.
Yeah. But I've just got a few things that, you know, parents have asked, that what do you do when your kids know all that? They know they've been raised eating healthy food. They know they feel awful when they eat certain foods, but they do it anyway because it's easy or cheap, or their friends eat that way or whatever. What do you do when they would rather put up with the consequences than eat differently to other people, and they're still living at home?
So this is when they're teenagers living at home.
Yeah, they know they react. They feel dreadful, but they don't care because they want to eat like their friends or whatever.
That's a good question. What do you do there?
For my own children, and this has happened in our family.
Yeah.
Continuing on, just trying to be steady with the food at home that you serve up, because they are not controlling that. You are. Of course, they may go out and buy other stuff as teenagers, but the bulk of the food, hopefully, is meals at home that you're serving up, and just doing the best you can with that, and really getting those nourishing foods in there. So every meal, try to make it a really nourishing meal. And I know some days that doesn't happen, but we do the best we can again. But adding in foods rather than stressing out about getting the bad foods all out. So focus on adding in. So healthy swaps as well, that's another good thing. But adding in things like So you make your meat stocks and you use them in your cooking where it's a savoury meal and it needs water, add some meat stock, or make a really delicious soup or stew or casserole or something with the meat stock. The other day, this is another good example, my mum invited all the cousins and the kids and everything to come to her place for, actually I think they invite themselves because they like going to grandma's house for a pancake night.
Sure.
And pancake night at grandma's is pretty awesome because she gets out every single thing that she can find and buys all this stuff. And so they end up having pancakes with maple syrup and cream in a tin that goes and strawberries and chocolate, and I don't know, they just find all this stuff and they put it all out, and mum just makes pancake after pancake after pancake for them. And she does use gluten-free flour, which is nice of her, because there's a couple of them that are gluten-free. They were all going to go over there for pancakes, and they hadn't had dinner or anything. It was just going to be a pancake night for dinner. And I was like, oh. So thankfully I had the pork and apple hot pot had been simmering for hours. Actually, I simmered it and then put it in the Wonder Bag, and it had been sitting there on the counter so that it would be ready for dinner. And I went, I know what I'm going to do. I'm just going to take that over. And it was 6 litres of, because I made a really big one, 6 litres of pork.
Genius.
I know. And I took it over and I thought, well, at least.
You just put it there. I'm just going to put it there.
Guys, there's some soup here if anyone wants it. And I was thinking, at least if my kids would have something savoury, I would be happy.
If you cut down on the pancakes by 50%. Or,
That's right. Oh, my goodness. It went in a flash. They loved it. And these teenage girls went home to their mum saying, that was the best soup I have ever tasted.
Yes.
And my mum said,
I remember you and I sitting down designing that soup.
I know. We designed that in my kitchen, didn't we?
Yes.
But my mum said to me, that was a genius idea. She said, from now on, every time we have pancake night, we're having soup with it.
You
just kind of there
at pancake night, but it is really soup night.
Soup night.
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
6 litres gone in an hour, but that's all right.
Oh, wow. You guys get an army of kids.
Yeah, we do. But it's so good having those kind of meals that they're very nourishing but very delicious, and you can get away with that kind of stuff and not be nagging at your kids to eat healthy, but they're still eating healthy because it's so delicious. And their friends all love it, and so they don't feel like, oh, how embarrassing, mum's healthy, because their friends love it.
And so I think it is like, for me, if I had, oh my god, pancake night tonight, and I'm excited about it, which wouldn't happen, but let's say I am. And because I really just like pancakes for breakfast.
Okay.
But you put a pot of soup there for me. I go, my god, I'm just gonna smash some of that soup out first for sure, because it's dinner time. It's not pancake time,
Exactly. So I think a lot of times you don't have to. You don't have to
charge
say
for
it.
that soup. You would have made a bit of money.
I could have. I think a lot of times we don't need to be nagging at the kids.
But can you, for instance, take away some of their freedom? Like
I think.
Can you say you know
definitely.
what? I was giving you $30 a week as pocket money, and you just went and spent it on burgers and blah blah blah. And sorry, this week you're just gonna get $10.
Yeah.
Or
sure.
Do you do that?
I don't give them pocket money. They they are all sort of past that stage, but they kind of get their own money from working, so that's different.
Yes, okay.
But I think that's definitely something that you could do if they're still getting pocket money and then they're spending it on stuff.
When they were younger, you used to say to them, "Yeah, sure, you can eat whatever you want, but." You got to go out and work and make the money. You got to get to work, find the work first of all, get to work, do the work, get paid for the work, and
get to the shop by yourself.
The shop, that's right.
Cook the food.
And then for a few years, that was an effective strategy.
It was until they got jobs and cars and things.
That's right.
And cousins with cars. So it was good for when they were younger, though, definitely.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think. Oh, yeah, and also the friend thing. It's quite a touchy subject. Like, I remember my eldest daughter coming home and giving me a big lecture and how embarrassed she was that I hassle her cousins and friends about food. I'm like, I don't. And she's like, you say stuff, you make comments. I'm like, okay, I'll be more careful. But, you know, that's, to them,
what
it's
happened like if I spoke like that to my mom, she would be like, you know, this is my house. I cook however I want. You don't like it, don't bring your friends here.
Yeah, exactly. But she was just like
nice.
upset. She was upset one day and she's like, and it's just embarrassing. And they come over and you say stuff. I'm like, I don't.
Yeah.
I said, I only say stuff when they're hassling me. Like, you know how sometimes you get a cheeky niece or nephew that'll make comments about your food. Well, then I'm going to say something. So, I started to have to be very careful about what I said. So I found that it was better to talk to them when their friends weren't around. But I guess it depends on the situation. If one of my nieces or nephews said something, I'd pretty much answer them because they're sort of like my kids
you
too.
You come to my house.
They're like my kids as well.
And you don't get a waffle? That is sacrilege. I'm going to make you a waffle right now. What are you going to do? Are you going to have a waffle party? Are you going to have a waffle night?
I think we'll have to because we're going to have 4 waffle irons in the family.
Oh, my God. You're going to be called the Waffle Irons, not the Wittens anymore. Joe Waffle Iron.
Waffle party. You want to come to our waffle party, Fufu? Soup and waffles.
Wow, that's going to be a long trip from the Blue Mountains of New South Wales to the Atherton Tablelands.
It'll be worth it.
They sound delicious. I love that kind of food. Like, I would love, you know what? Like, I'd love a ham and cheese croissant, for instance. I'd love a waffle. But like,
no, don't worry. I'll make it a healthy waffle.
Yeah. All right. Well, I don't want that either. You know, I want that waffle
the real
I
thing.
described to you. Like,
I'm going to make that. I'm going to make that, and it'll be a really healthy one. And
do a quirky recipe for it.
I will.
Put it on the website.
Okay.
Oh my God.
Deal.
Oh. And send me a waffle iron so I can do the photography for you. I'll do the recipe and the eating. Yum yum. I'm gonna go make a hot chocolate. Yeah.
Oh, that sounds good. Let me just look at these questions here and see what else we need to answer.
Be quick because we don't have much time left.
Okay. Let's see. We've talked about that. Some of these questions we've already answered. Parents. Yep.
Guys, while Joe is looking,
you can talk while I look.
Let me tell you about a brand new product that Joe doesn't have on her website. It's called the Witten Waffle Iron. The Witten Waffle Iron is just like okay. Just until you find the end, it's like a little ad break.
Okay. All right.
For only 20
let me just finish with this.
What?
Okay, let me just finish with this.
Yes, go for it.
You've probably gotten the idea that I think it's really, like, I'm talking to the people listening now, not you, Fufu, because you already know me. But you've probably gotten the idea that I think it's really important to make food fun and delicious. And you will win over kids just by doing that. If you make healthy food that's fun and delicious, that will really help with the healthy eating. So I think it's really important to make your kitchen a happy place. And it's like,
that might be a nice next podcast. Turn the kitchen into a happy place. How to do that?
That's right. Because, you know, it's the heart of the home. It's where your friends and family should feel like this is a great place to be. And that's how all my...
If you're that way inclined.
Yeah. I mean, but because there's good food there. I'm talking about...
like a lot of, you know,
I'm not talking about like whether you like cooking or not.
I get you. Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, you know, I think a lot of people don't like cooking. It. Yeah, and then they feel inadequate when we say you should make them.
Okay, I see what you mean. But, you know, you can do really simple food. Like, for instance, that apple and pork belly one. It's one of those recipes where you chuck everything in the pot, you simmer it, and you walk away. That's all you do.
Chorizo stew from the cookbook as
well.
That's right.
That's
simple.
We have so many of those kind of recipes. You don't have to be a gourmet chef to enjoy being in the kitchen, for sure.
Yes, and I keep saying, like I've said that in my talks many times with you, Joe, is that the following. I'm saying, you agreed with me, Joe. before I said it.
Okay, I agree.
Okay.
I agree.
So, a lot of you say, look, I hate cooking. I think cooking is terrible. And a lot of people say, I love cooking. So it's just an attitude that you have formed. If you don't like it, it's really an attitude that you have. And the truth is, there is the potential in the human species to really love cooking. And you're a member of the human species. And you could either love it or hate it. But if it's something you're going to have to do for the rest of your life to look after your health and your family's health, then maybe, start seeing why you hate it and learn to love it. Because, you can. You can do it.
I think sometimes reason people hate it is because they haven't got the headspace for it. They're not organized to enjoy it. And I find
for one thing, they also lack basic kitchen skills,
yeah,
and understanding. Like,
like if
they
you're
also
rushed,
have a fear of failure.
True.
But
if you're really rushed and busy,
how am I going to do that? Yeah.
The time that I don't enjoy it is when I'm really tired, rushed, and busy. So I kind of feel like if you can organize things a bit so that you've got a bit of time in the evening to cook, or on the weekend to do a bit of a cook up or something, it's just more enjoyable. When I have time to potter in the kitchen, when I'm rushed, I don't like it. But even just setting aside the cooking side of things, just having that place where your friends and family gather together for special times together. So just even if it's a cup of tea and something really basic, it's just so nice to hang out together.
Totally. So and then you can get the Thermomix to do the cooking.
That's right.
Well, you don't have to do it yourself.
So that's how my kids think of, like, for instance, tonight when we had the chili bowls, the kids were all at the lake, and all I had to do was warm up the chili and make the tortillas and cut up the salad. And so I was doing that. Yes. And then they walked in and I had it all laid out I thought, I'm going to make this look really pretty. So I sort of did it like tapas with all the little bowls and the pretty.
You're missing Spain or something. Right?
Yeah, I am. I did use my bowls that I bought in Spain.
Yeah, of course you did. I know. Yeah.
And I laid it all out. And so they came home and they were like, oh, they were so happy, and everyone's making their tortillas. It just it's a big difference to the days when, I know you can't do that every day, but some days it's just like, I can't be bothered, and let's just eat some leftovers out of the fridge.
Sure. Okay. It can't be Christmas every day.
No, but to have those kind of days even twice a week.
Yes.
It's just
to celebrate life through
and celebrate
a meal.
Hanging out together. It's really lovely.
It's great.
So
wonderful. Yeah,
and it's a privilege to be able to eat the way we do in Australia, isn't it?
That's right. To have a roof over our heads and money in the bank to purchase the stuff, and security in our lives, to have people over and to feed people outside of our immediate family circle.
Yeah,
they are privileges.
They are
for sure. Worth celebrating.
Yeah, worth celebrating for sure. So let it be a way to show love to your family and just to enjoy being together. So I think that's what's important for me, and that's how my mum's raised me, and I think that sort of helps the kids to love eating well, because it's not just the food, it's the whole being together and the experience. So
well said, Jo.
That's my bit of motherly advice today.
I'm so touched.
I know.
we should stop there, because
we should, because it's
done
time.
The perfect ending.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you, Jo, for this chat.
That's okay. Thank you. It was good fun. Hope you guys all enjoyed that, and we will be back in another couple of weeks with another podcast.
Chat to you guys soon.
Thanks, Fufu.
Bye, Jojo.
Bye.
This has been a production of TheWellnessCouch.com. Check us out on Facebook and join in the conversation on Facebook.com/The Wellness Couch. Subscribe to each show on iTunes and check us out on Twitter. The Wellness Couch, streaming wellness into your lives. Whilst the Wellness Couch presenter endeavor to provide accurate and helpful information to their listeners, these podcasts cannot take into account individual circumstances and are not intended to be a substitute for health and medical advice from a qualified health professional. You should always seek the advice of a qualified health professional before acting on any of the information provided by any of the Wellness Couch podcasts.